integers. I didn't know that. Shipping, design. I did this with a lot of them. Okay. Just make sure you're paying attention to what you're doing and make sure that those are integers before you do the identity specification. That should be all of them. Okay. If not, it'll just not work, and then we'll see why it wasn't working. So we'll go back to address, and there's no relationships here, so we'll just skip that. Design, go to category, nothing here. Customer has a primary key, or excuse me, a foreign key. We're going to go to relationships, and we're going to select add, and then we're going to go to tables and column specs. And what you want to do is in the table titled address, the primary key is address ID. And then we want to make sure that matches with this too. So boom, boom, boom. In the customer table, address ID is a foreign key, so that's why we selected it there. Select OK, and select close, and also make sure you control save. It's going to say this warning, just select yes, it should be fine. So we'll move on to, this is customer, right? Okay, so we'll move on to this one. We'll go to design. Now there's a couple of foreign keys here, so it might not work. Let me just see. We're going to just do the same thing. Product ID, product ID. Payment. We're going to select add if we're doing more than one. We're going to select add, same thing. This is payment in the orders table, payments, payment ID, because this is the orders table. Okay. We're going to do another add, so we don't have to go back and forth. And we're going to do shipping, ship ID, and ship ID. Okay. So there should be 3. It's going to give you this warning. Just select yes, it'll work. Okay. Payments, we're going to select design. There's no foreign keys here, so we'll just skip that. Design to product table. Okay, so product does have a foreign key. Same thing. Select add. We'll just do add. This is a category. We have to put category ID. Select yes. And then finally shipping. Shipping has customer ID as a foreign key. So relationships, do customer ID, and then customer ID. Select OK, save. So now that we have all of the entity integrity sorted out, we have all of the relationships sorted out. What we want to do is create a database diagram only to know for sure that nothing is being nothing has a recursive relationship, to visualize what we've done and to make sure that there's no one-to-one relationships. And it's actually kind of interesting to see it too. So we'll right click where your database is. You're going to select database diagrams, right click new database diagram, create them. Let's see if this works. So sometimes what happens is you kind of have to restart Microsoft SQL. We'll go ahead and do that. I'll be right back. Okay, so I've restarted it. I've connected to the database. Hopefully this works. New database diagram. Okay, so make sure you select everything here. Select add, and it should populate. Okay, close this. We're just going to zoom out here for a bit. And just to give you guys an idea of what's happening, that should be correct. So this is an ER diagram. Now that all of these are related in some way, you can now select query these tables. As long as there's no one-to-one relationships, it's better than, it's more right than wrong. Now, one thing you might find interesting is, or just to give you a better idea of what I'm trying to do, let me just save this. Let's just say SQL tutorial diagram. So SQL tutorial diagram, this table has 3 tables connected to it. So it's kind of like an intermediate table. And notice how nothing is related to itself, or there's no circles. There's no, it's all a dead end. So the payments goes to orders, it's a dead end. Category goes to products, goes to orders, it's a dead end. Address goes to customer, customer goes to shipping, shipping goes to orders, it's a dead end. Nothing is a circle. It all comes into a dead end, in other words. So let's go and let's select the top 1,000 rows, and you can see all of the data is loaded up. This is your primary key. These are the people's address. These are the customers' addresses. When I created the database, I left it only in America, and for some reason, it only selected states in Alabama. Doesn't really matter. It's automatically generated fake data. So that's all we're concerned about. So you can see this is a query that selects the database, or selects the table. But what we want to do is, we have address, but we also have customer. And it would be nice if we could have that displayed in one table. We want to join these two tables together. So what we'll do is we'll create a new query. Select your database that you're going to be working with. You're going to select new query, right? And so let me just have this on the side here. Okay, so we're going to now begin designing our query. We're going to start with the select command. For now, we're just going to have all. We're going to grab it from, let's just grab it from one table for now, customer. And let's just see if this works. Okay, yeah, so this gives us all of the data from customers. Oh, also, by the way, if you didn't know how that worked, you just select it and then select execute, and it runs the query for you. Let's do the same thing for address, because that's the table we want to connect it to. Address. See, it's already here. I think address is a command too, so probably avoid calling your table address, but I think it'll still work. Okay, yeah, so it still works. So we have two tables, customer and then address. Because the primary keys are the same, the way we generated the data is we just used row ID. So in real life, it's not going to be row 1 and then the primary key is 1. Things are going to be deleted, things are going to be created. It's going to just increment. The only thing you can count on is that it's going to increment. So don't worry about having it perfectly numbered. This is kind of an artificial situation. So with that being said, we want to join these two tables together. How are we going to do that? So what you do is, we're taking customers. Let me just run that query again. And every time there is a matching address ID, we want to just stick whatever address, whatever is found in the address table to this representation. We just kind of want to stick it onto this one. So you'll see on the other side, it'll have the same thing. So the way we do this, one of the ways you can do this, you can do an inner join. You can do an inner join, and when you do inner join, the next item that you would type is the table you're connecting it to, the table you're connecting the original table to. So that would be address. And then we want to know where we're connecting them through. SQL doesn't automatically know what you're trying to do. So you have to put an on command, and we're going to start with customer. We're going to start with the table, and we're going to put a period. And then because in the customer table, there's an address column, address ID, we want to match that column with address. So we'll select address ID, or we'll type it out rather, and we'll set it equal to the address table, and that is going to be connecting also to address ID. So we're going to get a query here that should join all of them together. See, now it has all of the information that you want. But something's weird about this. There's duplicate columns, specifically for address ID. Also, we don't want customer ID. We just want the information connected to each other. So just make sure you remove the asterisk, because asterisk will return everything. And just to keep it simple, we'll just do first name, last name of the customer. So right in after the select, you would be typing the column names. First name and last name are part of customer column. Now we want to put the address, which is in the address table. So remember, we named it address 1 to differentiate it. And this should return what we're looking for. So now we have only the information we want. We have the customer's first name, their last name, and then their address. It's connected, it's joined as a table, and that's pretty much the basis of that. That's really why you need to know SQL as a data analyst, because you're going to be given access to a database, and you're going to spend a lot of time trying to develop these queries so you can get the information that your employer or your boss or whoever is specifically asking for. So that's why it's one of the most important skills you could know as a data analyst. That concludes this part of the video, and hope you guys continue to learn, keep going, and I hope this helps.